if the local county council, in liaison with the guards, arranged traffic diversion as well as parking for the visitors to that market. A colleague of mine was recently at a farmer's market. He had to fight his way to a wagon, out of which a lady was selling chicks and goslings. He was lucky enough to get 2 ducks and 2 little chickens and brought them home. He bought himself a little chicken coop, and he has wired off a part of his garden, mostly for his children's pleasure, but also he'll have organic eggs at home. These are simple things that bring a lot of pleasure to people, and they're practical, and they support our own local economy.
That's the very point, John, there as well.
Yeah,
Practical, local.
I agree 100% with what Kevin is saying in relation to get back to the to basics, because we did kind of run amok with ourselves, and we're all to blame.
We lost the run of ourselves.
Yeah,
John.
we did. Yeah, but you see, the thing about it is, Kevin, the reality is, it's fine to be to say that. And if you form a farmers market tomorrow morning in any town or village in the county, you have to do it to regulation, because we have European directives and diktats that come through the government and that are enforced in this country. Now, I will say, he's right in a sense that if you go to any of our European neighbours, take the British, the allotment scheme works quite well there. Take the French, the farmers markets work quite well. Fantastic. But they show a healthy respect, Kevin, to the EU directives that are there. They don't use them as a punishing tool to keep people away. And that's what we are doing. And because we have a bloated public service, because we have people, we have departments, especially in the likes of the agriculture, food and fisheries, we have quite a lot of people there who are sent out to keep an eye on all these things, and they're coming with their list of boxes to be ticked. And if you don't tick each box, they'll shut you down.
Right.
And that's what we need. No, I agree with Kevin, and what he's talking about is spot on. And if it's only for the health and well-being of people, he's spot on. But we need to get rid of the bureaucracy in it.
Okay.
And that then has to come through the system of government, whether that's local government or whether it's national government. It has to come through the system, and the system just won't go away at the stroke of a pen.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We have to work back through it. And like you know, the other side of it is, you take a person who buys an egg or buys something at a farmer's market tomorrow morning and gets sick, for argument's sake.
Yes.
Well, there's a culture in this country then where you go after the person that sold you that. And, you know, we need to change our mindset on that as well.
Okay, Joe, just before we're coming to the end of our discussion here as well, just listening again to Kevin and John, very practical suggestions. You've come across it as well. You need these are the type of projects that can get people working, like the small farms, farm allotments, and getting people growing their own vegetables as well. Would you be putting that to, if elected, would you put that to the council as well as one way of getting people out there working in their own community?
Oh, yes, I certainly would. I think these farm allotments, that's a great idea, really, where you get people out and sow their own vegetables and that. And as the candidate said, we have a lot of plenty of land out there, plenty of plots. So I think I would be pushing for that very strongly, yes, indeed.
Okay, and just to finish, okay, the listeners out there would like to hear from Joe Wallace, from John Sheehan, from Kevin O'Connor, and say, right, what are you...
John,
sure, Joe, yes, go on.
Can I just say something on that? Because one of the most important mechanisms and tools that is coming before the new council, post the 5th of June, will be a new county development plan.
Yes.
A new county development plan is a very important utensil and plan that you make for the next 5 years in your county. And we need to look at that in relation to what Kevin has said, in relation to the allotments, and in relation to finding areas for farmers markets and designating places for that. Because what you will find, that if it's not in the Bible of the county development plan, it can't happen. And people should make their submissions to the county development plan with their ideas. It doesn't matter what they think their ideas, whether they think they're runners or non-runners. Get them in there, because if they're in there, they'll be discussed at
the proper appropriate level as well.
Correct, yeah.
John, a quick word on the plan.
Okay.
I'd be very dubious when I hear the word plan, I lose heart. A very prominent politician 5 years ago, at the point of these elections when they were run 5 years ago, announced publicly in Askeaton that he was expecting up to 700 jobs in the local industrial park. It's on the right as you leave Askeaton on the road to Foynes.
I know it.
Fully serviced, water, electricity, sewage, the works. Up to 700 jobs would be provided, and within 5 to 6 weeks he reckoned there would be 270. To this day the sum total is 0. The land is lying idle, occasionally grazed by stray horses. It is used once or twice a year to the great good fortune of the local point-to-point racing fraternity. There's a huge racing fraternity in Askeaton point-to-point,
That's
and
right.
they use it once or twice a year. Now, if that's regarded as an appropriate use of fully serviced land, it's that type of thinking that has landed this country in the state it is in today. And I don't want to hear about plans. I want to see action. And that's what people want to see. And forget the legislation. Forget the problems. Let the problems be dealt with by the lawyers. Maybe that'll be a growth industry for them. People on the ground need employment, and they need some method to use up their energies, which are presently being sapped both in the political field and from lack of gainful employment.
Okay. Joe, just finally as well, the listenership there listening to Joe Wallace, local man, local employer, local businessman, what would you bring to the council if elected on their behalf?
With my my background civil engineering, I think I would be able to identify problems in the ground with people on my area there, and I could be able to relate this to the various people in the county councils, and I think I could make it very easy for those people, and in discussing the problems they had and relating it, as I said, to the county councils.
And get small projects going that would get people working again.
Exactly, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Joe. And Kevin, what would your appeal be out to the public there as well that would be listening?
I don't know. I just hope that the public are open to a new voice, one that speaks frankly, tells the story as it is. I'm not beholden to any political group, any political party, so I don't have anyone editing what I'm looking to say. So I will try to tell it as it is and give off my best. I firmly believe that Ireland is a country that has many public services, but has lost service out of that.
Okay.
The idea of service is long gone from public service. For example, the job that I'm presently running for with my two colleagues here is described as a part-time job by the Local Government Act, and yet its salary and expenses far outstrip the average industrial wage. People should be privileged to serve the local community. Remuneration should be a vastly insignificant detail, but sadly it's not. A lot of people apparently are very self-interested, and they're not interested in self-service, public service, but self-service.
Okay. John Sheehan, what would you say to the listenership out there listening to you this morning?
Well, I suppose, John, what I would say is that 5 years ago, the people of the Rathkeela electoral area put their faith in me. They gave me a mandate. I was humbled and honoured to exercise that mandate on their behalf and serve them in Limerick County Council. I go on my track record. I feel I served them well. I did to the best of my ability what I could do for the people. I did it in their interest. I worked in the people's interest, not in my own self-interest, not in the interest of any specific sector of society. I worked in the people's interest. And if they give me a mandate on the 5th of June again, and vote number 1 for John Sheehan, I'll do the same again, and I will serve those people in their own interest.
Okay, just final with Joe.
I'd like to conclude by saying that local elections are all about local people, and I believe my track record as a hard worker and getting things done should stand up, and I hope that people out there will choose the right candidate and vote for me on June the 5th.
John, before we finish, I'd like to just say, I don't want to put anybody in a corner here or to spring a surprise on them, but I'll be releasing a press release next week, and in it I'll be outlining my intention to set aside a certain portion of my councillor's salary for good causes within my own electoral area, together with a designated reduction in expenses that I would incur in my first year and all the following years in office versus the lowest expense earner presently on the council. I have sought these figures from the council, and I believe they're in my email account today. I'll be totting them up over the weekend. and I'll be issuing a press release next week to this effect. And I'd like to give the opportunity to my colleagues left and right, and through what